let's start. Okay, so Wandavision, what are your thoughts? Tonight we're gonna do the finale and the whole series review. What did you guys think?
On the finale, I would say it was a disappointing ending.
Really? You didn't like it?
Well, I felt like we didn't really have anything deliver other than a laser magic sky fight. And the only real thing that I felt like the show delivered at the end on the stuff we had been watching is a really awesome Scarlet Witch outfit now.
That was an awesome outfit. Is that the outfit for from the comics?
It's much closer alignment, man, is well updated, and I really liked it. But I just, well, we'll get into more detail, but I would just say it felt like a disappointing end to a fun series.
So what was it that you didn't like?
Fair.
So you,
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into that until you guys have had a chance to talk about
okay.
your first thoughts.
So do you agree with that, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was a fun ending, but it wasn't everything I was hoping for. I was hoping to see a lot more stuff get set up, and I feel like they really didn't tease the kind of stuff I was expecting. As far as resolutions, I was a little bit disappointed with a lot of just like how ambiguous it was left up in the air. And then I was kind of expecting a lot more tie-in to what's her name? Rambo.
Yeah.
She's going to become Photon, right? Yeah.
Spectrum.
I was expecting a lot more. Sure. I was expecting a lot more of a breadcrumb teaser for her.
And I think in that I concur with that a bit. And I do want to say that as disappointed as I was, there have to be considerations for COVID. This production did shut down for a while. And so
Really?
This is one episode shorter than it was originally going to be.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it was really supposed to be 10 episodes.
Okay.
And I think content was cut. And if you notice, most of the scenes in the finale are between two people. That's the easiest way they were able to get around, like, crowd, like keep it as minimal as possible.
Groups.
Yeah.
Ah.
And you notice like there's the whole thing, like Darcy's barely in it. I mean, all of the side characters are barely in it,
Mm-hmm.
So content was cut. So I will say that, like, to caveat my disappointments in that regard, is I agree with Ian that like there were things I was hoping to see that I didn't get to see, and I wonder how much of that was on the cutting room board.
Okay.
Cutting board. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a shame. Yeah, because for me actually, I really enjoyed the finale, but the one thing I didn't enjoy is that yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff that you kind of feel like they could have added, like a lot of characters that weren't developed. And so I both disagree with you guys in the sense that I did actually enjoy it, but I agree with you that there was some stuff that was kind of missing, like Darcy. That's a good point. I hadn't quite thought about her specifically, but I don't think she has any scenes. I think she has one scene.
Yeah.
The truck scene.
And that might have been a pre-filmed scene, like a pre-COVID filmed scene.
And that is probably 1 second as well.
Yeah.
She shows up. So we got 1 second of Darcy in the whole episode. Actually, in the whole 2 episodes, because I don't think she even shows up in the episode 8. So
yeah, Monica wasn't in the previous episode either.
Right, and she appears very briefly, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the Quicksilver thing. I mean, she's barely in it as well. I mean, Quicksilver, that's another one. I mean, this is really more like a follow-up of the last episode, because all those characters that we said, last time around, hey, they didn't even show up this time. I mean, they still almost didn't show up.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I didn't like, but so that makes sense that they were going to do an extra. I think it would have been nicer to have an extra episode to flesh that out, but it is what it is. What are you going to do?
yeah, I do think like there was a lot that was left off the table that they were gonna do, but I think, and so a lot of the because structurally that's where the episode felt off for me, and I just I felt like I would have enjoyed it better if they had given more, if there was more for Darcy, more for, if the other stuff doesn't feel like they were just wrapped up without much resolution. I mean, Hayward is basically like all of a sudden a child shooting mustache twirling villain there at the end, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely turns heel just out of nowhere.
yeah, I mean, he was already bad, but or supposed to be antagonistic, but that, I mean, it just was very quick finishes to pieces that I think were, some of it is structurally they just didn't have the ability to film another episode, get,
So instead of
and that
postponing
stuff
it,
aside, that stuff aside, I don't blame them for anything of that. The issues that I was more than disappointed of come from other things.
well,
You're
okay.
fine.
So what are the things that you were disappointed about? Well, at least one thing.
So
Oh, by the
I'm gonna
way,
throw out my like point
our-
number one,
for our
which is
viewers,
that
Ian is doing this from
Yeah.
a hot tub, which is awesome. But he's not just some pervert. He's actually,
You got to live your best life.
yeah, he's living his best life.
next time he's gonna do it from the beach.
From the beach next time, Ian. We live in Minnesota, so
willing.
that might be a little bit. Tricky.
Right.
You might die if you try that.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do about it.
There's a snowstorm outside, so.
That's fine.
But go ahead, Daniel. I'm just being
But
stupid.
yeah, I would say no worries.
I was just.
But I would say that like to
manly
transition,
physique.
hey man, I mean, we're just, there's no structure to this. I could do this from a mountaintop
It's just like
if I ever get a chance to go rock
just like
climbing again.
we have flexible structure.
Yeah.
So one thing that you weren't so happy with, other than that.
So I think the easiest transition is something that builds off of the lack of Monica Rambeau, and that's so I would say that this show's hero up until like the last couple episodes was Monica Rambeau. The subjects of the show are Wanda and Vision. They are protagonists, but they are the topics of the show.
Mhm.
The only person who is trying to save anybody here is Monica and Jimmy Woo.
Darcy.
She's trying to save the people from the Hex, Wanda from her grief, and Wanda and Vision from Hayward. And then she barely gets anything to do. And so that to me was like disappointment number one. And that one may be in direct relation to stuff being cut, but
Yeah. So you're disappointed.
that to me was
disappointed that she didn't get more stuff.
Yeah, because she's being really set up here as sort of like, at least I felt like she was being set up as the hero here. She was supposed to be the one, she's coming in here trying and being the one who's actually there to try to save people. She and Jimmy and Darcy. And perhaps like their decision to de-emphasize her in lieu of the whatever they were shooting here at the end, whether that was planned or not, I felt like really cheap into that storyline. We almost didn't even need to have her in the show if this was all she was going to do.
Okay.
Which is a shame because she was amazing for pretty much every moment that she was on the show.
Yeah, totally.
And that doesn't take away for how good Wanda and Vision were. I mean, everybody acted their asses off, but like it just was sort of a shame that like this came down to a big CGI magic fight between Wanda and Agatha, and didn't really involve Monica doing anything other than taking a bullet for the kids, which was also, not a great scene either.
So what?
But it does mirror actually her first demonstration of powers in the comics actually is kind of like that though. She basically walks through bullets being shot at her, which is a pretty cool moment. So it does mirror the comics, but it's just the in the moment, I was just like, wait, they're shooting at kids now, and the one black character on the show is the only person who gets shot. That was
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate that the supporting cast got such a backseat.
Yeah.
Because I think you make a really interesting point that despite the fact that the show is about Wanda and Vision,
Mhm.
The protagonist is, Monica Rambeau, and it really sets up for all of these other supporting characters to get eased back into the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right? And like the show is supposed to just be a backdrop for that, I feel. And I definitely think the final episode did not execute as well as they might have intended, whether that be from COVID or from creative differences. I guess we don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Like the compromises have been made now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to the point that you were making before, right? That maybe they had to cut stuff from the finale. That there's one episode missing. I mean, maybe that's the reason, like you said yourself.
And that's why that was my transition one, because that's the one that I feel is sort of like the grayish. Like, was it content cut or was it like?
I actually feel worse for Quicksilver. Not like worse, but I
and
feel
I'll get to that one too.
That's the one that bothered me the most, because that was like, I was fine with Monica's actually. I mean, yeah, it was a little bit, like underwhelming. You want to get a little bit more, but she still did some stuff, and she had probably the best scene or one of the best scenes of the finale, which was the post scene. Like when she goes into that theater and a really weird alien woman points to the stars, but maybe
a scroll. Yeah,
I'm getting
which
ahead
I'm
of
guessing.
myself.
I mean, she's going to meet up with Nick Fury.
What is that all about? I mean, since I got ahead of myself, what is that all about?
Nick Fury is not on the planet right now. He's with the Skrulls, and Nick Fury has obvious ties to Captain Marvel, so that'll probably.
Oh, so he's the one she's talking about, Nick Fury. That makes.
I believe they're talking specifically about Nick Fury.
Oh yeah,
but it could also be Captain Marvel tangent wrapped up in that as well. Carol Danvers.
Could be, yeah, it could be, but I think because of the age, I think it's probably Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
because they're both like operatives and directors of these made up intelligence agencies, whereas Captain Marvel, it would be, I can't really see how she would be like good friends with her mom. I mean, maybe, but yeah, Nick Fury sounds a lot more plausible.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes that actually makes the scene even a little bit better for me, and I really like that. Actually, I really like the bull. Did you guys see that there were 2 scenes at the end?
Yeah, there's 2. I think I'll have.
Did you catch?
Yeah, there's 2 post.
Oh, you did? Because I rewatched the episode, and the first time I didn't see it. I thought it was just one scene. Then that second time. What is it again? I kind of, because I've seen it like several days ago. Was it the Doctor Strange stuff? What was the second scene?
Well, she was kind of doing a Doctor Strange thing. It was Wanda basically training herself in the using her astral self to train in magic while she is relaxing. Otherwise, it's a very Doctor Strange image. If you watch that movie, like he trained astrally. Right. While being in the real world a lot, and so it's clearly showing her.
That was cool,
like diving into her magic abilities, but obviously there's some ominous implications with it too.
And was that
I feel like this ending, like the double sting, set up for 3 separate movies.
Yeah,
I feel like it's set up for a Monica Rambeau movie, it's set up for a Scarlet Witch movie, and definitely the next Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I would say the Doctor Strange for sure, but I don't know. Do you think they're gonna get separate movies, Wanda and Monica?
Wanda maybe after Doctor Strange. I feel this is gonna feed directly into it, and my creative hope for it is that she is, if not for the entire movie, but at least the first part, the antagonist.
Of Doctor Strange.
Like for Doctor Strange, yes.
But
because. If she is truly diving into the Book of the Dead,
right?
Or the Book of Black Magic,
that would be fun. Yeah.
I feel like she's going to come into conflict with Doctor Strange, and that's going to be problematic for him because, as was stated, she has the potential to be more powerful than him. There is really only one Avenger who might be more powerful than her at their best, and that's Carol Danvers, but she's not on the planet.
Wow. So you think she's even more powerful than someone like Thor?
Yeah.
Really?
Definitely. She has, she's shown
'Cause Thor is a god.
tendencies to have abilities similar to the each one of the Infinity Stones. Like
Yeah.
if you watch her throughout every movie, so starting in like Ultron, she's able to use powers similar to every single stone. And as we see in WandaVision, she doesn't get her powers from the stone. Her powers are augmented by it's the Soul Stone,
Mind.
the Mind Stone.
Yeah. So she has the ability to completely change reality at her.
Right. So I think she's definitely going to, if she doesn't already, gain powers that are synthetically close to every single Infinity Stone.
Yeah. And
Well, isn't
it'll
that a
be very
problem?
curious.
Isn't that a problem for the Doctor Strange movie if she's more powerful than Doctor Strange, who's the main character?
That's why I say I hope creatively they allow it to organically get to the point where she is the antagonist for Doctor Strange. And it actually, to me, it helps because it adds, that way Doctor Strange doesn't have to immediately go to Baron Mordo as his arch enemy right away. They can save that for another movie. Because otherwise, Doctor Strange doesn't have a lot of compelling villains.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know
but-
if she'll get her own movie. I think Doctor Strange, yeah, it seems very clear that she's going to be in the next Doctor Strange. I think it would be cool if she
and
got her
there's-
own movie. I think that would be fun. But I think at this point they would probably make a sequel to the series. I'm guessing,
Yeah, I feel like her being not on the best of terms with the rest of the Avengers is comic appropriate too. She has a very tenuous history. I mean, at one point she wipes out the mutants in the comics.
Ouch.
Like, it's, yeah.
She kills them, all of them.
She changed reality to make everybody not mutants. Like,
So not the Punisher.
know.
The Punisher has those storylines that he just goes around killing everybody.
yeah, no, there's a tenuous relationship she has with the rest of Marvel. And so I hope they play into it, but I am worried because Monica Rambeau's last line to her really made me mad.
What was the last line? I forget.
When she says that they'll never know the sacrifice that you made.
Yeah.
I have a whole point about this because I was like,
Go ahead.
No.
I could not believe that they tried to basically say that everything was okay that Wanda did because she was grieving and they assumed good intent for her. Because no, she did a bad thing. She had abused a whole town, made them live her nightmares, and locked up their kids. Like, there's no excusing that. Monica should never have tried to sympathize with that. She should have sympathized with Wanda's emotions, but then said, like, you need to do something about this because this is like, it's not like anyone can have justice because, again, no one's actually going to be able to force Wanda to do anything. But that line to me was such a way, and it's in line with a lot of Marvel stuff, which is that basically that, Marvel always assumes, or at least these movies has been assuming that like good intent means that your bad actions are okay. But, there's a problem within that. I mean, Civil War was ostensibly about that. That you can't assume everybody is, going to be good intention. Not everyone is Captain America. Captain America is essentially from Civil War being proven wrong here because he basically said like there should all of these this Sokovia Accords, all this stuff is not a good thing. It's like, no, Wanda is one of the reasons why they made Sokovia Accords, and she proved again why they needed it. You know, superheroes unchecked are a problem, and Wanda can't just get away. Can't just be like sympathized away and let fly away. They gave her one scene where everybody looks miserable at her, but to have Monica, the beacon of justice within this show, to basically say, "Oh, it's okay, you were grieving," that just made me mad.
Well, I don't think she was saying.
Yeah, I think you.
Go ahead, Ian.
Oh, I was going to say, I think you bring up a really interesting set of points with, the morality that plays a central theme throughout the MCU. And I've been rewatching all of it, and Civil War definitely made me think the most about it.
Mm.
And I think you make some very excellent points that what Wanda did is absolutely not forgivable. You can't write that off as like a temporary pain of grievance. Like it's an actual objectable humanitarian crime.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of room for interpretation still, and I guess I interpreted Monica's sympathy as an attempt to build rapport, because it seems like that's what she was trying to do the entire time throughout WandaVision, is build a rapport with Wanda, because she was, so when they struck up the Sokovia Accord, she was arguably too young to make a respectable decision on the matter. And after losing Vision, she's done a lot of growing, and she's lived a lot of life between then and now. And I think Monica knows that and really needs to help her slowly come to the table.
And I would prefer writing to show that more then, because
I think so too.
Because Monica basically walks off after that and then gets a debrief. It's like, I just feel like they just let it. But a part of them, some of that might just be they didn't have time to write it in. But it to me felt very objectionable to just have her tell her that, and just let her go. Like there needed to be somewhere saying that this was bad and it can't happen again.
An actual set of consequences.
Right.
You mentioned how Cap objects to the Sokovia Accords, and I think that's something that I struggle with internally a lot, because his objection was that if those who regulate us become corrupt ourselves, we lose our agency.
Yeah.
And I get that in theory, but in practice, it doesn't always pan out that way.
Right. And the Justice League animated series has a great set of episodes about an alternate reality where the Justice League goes bad and takes over the world. And Batman's abject fear that could happen, if a tragedy strikes that makes Superman want to do that, and he forms plans. But again, that's still policing yourselves, and even they acknowledge that the Avengers can't police themselves. Someone does need to police the people who are basically walking gods, with the amount of powers they have.
Yeah, it's the problem of who watches the Watchmen, right?
Yeah.
You got that in,
or The Boys does that as well,
Yeah, but ultimately, you don't have an answer for that question. It's a very complicated question. It's a fun question too, for superhero philosophy. Actually, it's a fun question.
And I think it's a question that is more relevant though here, where a humanitarian crime was committed against civilians by a hero. This was a series where the entire show is predicated on this, really. That I think that's why it bothers me a little bit more, is that it's not that it happened, it's the way that they flippantly let it go.
Yeah,
And
I think there's a lot of tragic irony involved in all of this too, because so I watched a recap about Ultron
yeah,
and his philosophies. And a lot of his philosophies were that those who make peace will only continue to breed war, right?
yeah,
Like the thing you want, you create the opposite, with your fears. And I think there's a lot of tragic irony because we see that play out, somewhat repeatedly. I think we definitely see it play out here, where Sword, a agency that's made specifically to wage war,
yeah,
um, creates the most calamity, and like somewhat spectacularly fails at their mission, right? Because their mission is to wage war and achieve peace, and they absolutely don't achieve peace. They just further drive a wedge.
yeah.
Well, I didn't really. Well, I think I had a different interpretation because when she says they'll never know why you sacrifice, I don't really see her as saying that it's okay. You know that what happened. I just think that she's sympathizing. Well, in fact, that's what she says next is very clear that she's sympathizing with Wanda. She's basically telling Wanda,
And
you
I
know,
think
if
you can sympathize.
what.
I was gonna say, I think you can sympathize, but you can't just leave it at that, because the implication is if all she's doing is sympathizing and then talks nothing of the consequences,
Well, what do you want her to
it's
do?
it's more about the writing and how they set that up. It leaves it out there that and you can interpret it one way, but I feel like the show needed better writing there to explicitly show that Monica, like there's a consequence to these people.
But she's the one. I mean, Wanda in the show, she in that case, she's policing herself more effectively than anybody else. Because any like all the other people in this case, like that organization, they're clearly corrupt. They're not driven by the right motives. In fact, they're just like mostly interested in weaponizing these people, specifically Vision, not even her. But I don't know if we can say that Sword is the government in that case, because I have no idea like who they're affiliated
Well,
with, but the
kind of, sort
authority.
of.
What?
I think the implication of the scene with Hayward when he was getting arrested, though, was that he actually was running a rogue element from being the head of Sword, which is weird, but okay.
Well,
So I think, despite your criticism of the writing, Dan, I would say that I think the writing does a good job of giving equal fuel to both sides. So I think Civil War, again, is really fascinating because it poses the philosophical question that kind of doesn't go away in any
Right.
movie afterward.
how does it get
Um,
resolved? Since you're rewatching the movies, because I don't remember how it gets resolved. Who wins?
There's no winner.
yeah, there's no
Just
winner.
So it's a stalemate.
What we
just
realize
Cap and
is,
go ahead.
what we realize is that both of these entities. So Tony Stark's opinion is that superheroes need to have a system of checks and balances, and Cap's opinion is that you cannot allow um, a group of people as powerful as them to be beholden to somebody who is subject to corruption.
Yeah.
And I think both sides of that get excellent fuel, as seen here. So you can point at Sword and say, see, Captain America was right. And then you can point at Wanda and say, see, Tony Stark was right. Because with a system of regulation and checks and balances, the whole Westview incident never would have happened. And then you can point at the corruption of Sword and say, if Sword had never been allowed to run amok and replace and take control of Vision's body, this never would have provoked the incident in the first place. As long as superheroes are able to self-regulate against these scenarios.
Yeah, I mean,
The problem doesn't exist.
yeah, she was not the one that started it. It was really the government, Sword. If they're the government, I'm not really sure.
But that is the problem, though, is that like if a rogue element or something like that can set a superhero who is grieving off and to do this, that is a problem. I mean, powers run amok are a bit of a problem. You know, and I think, see, my issue is that like maybe again they just didn't have enough time to deal with it, but it's like this is something where you can't, I feel like you can't open the box and then put everything back in the box. And so this was a case where the box was opened and they played around with the stuff in it, and then they're saying, oh, but okay, but just ignore the rest of the stuff that's in the box.
And I mean, like I was saying before, I don't think she's saying that she wasn't wrong, because Monica, like, and you said it yourself, you know, she's the hero in the story. She's the moral compass. I mean, she's consistently in the show. I think she's like, she knows, you know, what's right and what's wrong. And but she also knows that Wanda is not the villain, you know, and she's not the villain. I mean, she's doing something wrong, but largely she doesn't know what she's doing, you know, like her power just got away from her. um she's very confused, and she doesn't even like, she's kind of like, she's almost like discovering with us what's going on. Like she has an idea of it, but it's clear that she's not very like focused. She has somewhat of an idea that she's
not very
creating.
aware.
Yeah, she's not entirely
But
aware
she did
of what's
become
going on.
aware.
Well,
When
I mean,
Wanda
not
became aware,
entirely.
she expanded the X.
Well, at the end, like,
Remember when?
Yeah, I would say you're definitely right about that, and I think that shows that Wanda really didn't have much intentions throughout any of this. You know, she really just kind of played everything by the seat of her pants.
yeah.
Which is terrifying to think about.
But that's the thing, is that the assumption that intent is like just because you didn't intend it to be a bad thing doesn't mean it wasn't.
It doesn't
bad.
absolve you of sin.
Yeah, and
yeah,
so
I totally agree with you on that.
And so again, I wanted some acknowledgement.
Well, she did a bad thing.
I felt like,
but Monica is trying to to save people throughout the show, and I mean, ultimately, they succeed. You know, the way they succeed is they show Wanda that and she finds out herself that, you know, it's just not, she things got away from her, and but there's still bad people in the story, you know, like Agatha is trying to do bad stuff. The Shield people.
Yeah, but I mean, the people of Westview are still traumatized.
What?
So the people of Westview are still traumatized.
I mean, I don't think Monica's saying that it's okay. I mean, I think what she's saying, I mean, that's like, at least how I interpret it, is that she's saying, well, they'll never know, you know, what you sacrificed for them, because she sacrificed her family in order to save these strangers, you know. I mean, honestly, I think it's I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's I understand that comment. Like, I would make the same comment. It wouldn't be easy to sacrifice your family to save people that you don't know, regardless of the circumstance.
I think Dan has a very valid interpretation that it's hard to call it saving them when she was the one who put them in danger in the first place.
Yeah. I think, again, like, I think a better written line or an additional line to be like, I know you gave up a lot, you know, and it doesn't make up for what happened, you know.
Well, why is that
like important? You can say that too. You can say that while sympathizing with Wanda. You can say that, like, it doesn't make up for what was done to them, but now they can move forward, you know. Okay, it's like fair enough. Something to acknowledge that pain, you know, because
I think she acknowledged the pain. She gave up her family. I mean, that's pretty, it's like, strong acknowledgement.
Well, acknowledging the pain of the people of Westview.
Well, but that's why she gave up her family. Like, that was a big thing for her to do.
But again, it's like, Wanda needs to acknowledge that, or at least Monica needs to say that in addition to saying that like they'll never know what you gave up. Again, it's to me, it's the way that whole question, that statement was framed, to me, just rubbed me completely the wrong way.
Okay. What did you think about the two visions interacting? I thought that was a pretty cool scene. Like it was
I thought that was a
Yeah, I
highlight.
did too.
That it ended with a philosophical debate. Like,
yeah. I mean, I thought
Yeah,
yeah,
I thought that
there was
was
some
a little bit
philosophy.
amusing, but also like refreshing.
Yeah, it was fun.
yeah, I wanted more of that kind of stuff.
really nerdy and like scientific. What was it that they're talking about quantum mechanics in a MCU show? I mean, it's kind of crazy, but it's funny.
They're talking about the philosophy of Theseus's ship,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it was super fascinating because, I mean, jokingly, that's like how centrists think that they'll win arguments and like debates. Is that, they'll just like reason with the Nazi and then they win. But aside from that, I thought it was, that's the best way you can defeat Vision, is convince him of your point.
yeah.
Well, I think
I like also like it's there's a variation of this debate always. It's like, say you have a hatchet and you use it enough, but then the blade breaks, so you replace the blade. All right. But then you continue using with that new blade, but then the handle breaks, so you replace the handle. So is it the same hatchet that you are when you started, now that you replaced all the parts, over and over? I mean, you use it continuously, so it occupied the same space, but it has had new parts over and over. And I kind of liked how they wrote that's in so that I like how they wrote that kind of, I forgot the name of what that debate is, but they basically use that same argument with each other, and I felt like that was
Theseus's
very,
ship.
yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
I've heard it as the
actually
hatchet.
and it actually made sense because it applied to the situation. So it was kind of a brilliant way of disarming the other vision, and he figured out that he couldn't beat him with violence. So he understood that, okay, so I'm a very intellectual guy. I'm just gonna intellectualize this fight basically with my other intellectual brethren. So it was
Well, I think it's also very interesting because as they're having that discussion, they both quite literally represent, uh, you know, each end of the paradox.
Yeah.
yeah. They do. That's why
Because
he brings it up.
the white vision corpse is effectively, like, parts of the original, like the parts that have been discarded and then reassembled, and the vision that we've seen, normal vision, is the memory and the idea of that person. So he's the memory and the idea and like the name of the ship, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So to see them fight, and I think
the
the conclusion was really good.
Yeah.
It was like none of us
the
are
conclusion was just
vision.
like fascinating. It actually left me speechless a little bit.
Yeah, no, that was my favorite part of the whole episode.
Totally.
That was
I wanted more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it makes me think of the end of Ultron, when it's just Vision and like the final Ultron unit standing on a hilltop and they're watching a sunrise, and Ultron realizes that he's been defeated, and Vision is talking to him about the concepts of beauty and how they're both these new entities that have very omnipotent understandings of the human race, and Ultron is upset because he believed peace was achievable and it was simply taken from him.
Mm-hmm.
And as like throughout the whole movie, Ultron talks about like the beauty and the simplicity of of achieving peace and doing it through war. He talks about the beauty of a meteor, and Vision, right before he ends his life, says it's beautiful because it doesn't last.
Right.
So, and I think he's referring to a lot of stuff there. He's talking about the sunset. He's talking about humanity. He's talking about life and death. But I think he's also talking about peace. Like, peace is beautiful because it doesn't last forever, which is very melancholy to think about, that we can only appreciate peace by knowing more.
What about the Wanda versus Agatha?
Sorry, I went on a slight tangent.
No, it's okay. what did you guys? So you didn't like that one very much, right, Daniel? You said it's true
I
CGI.
was underwhelmed that we got a typical Marvel climax, which is a big CGI laser fight. Although this time it's magic.
Mhm.
It just was, underwhelming to me. I was like, I felt like there was other ways to do
The
it.
the way she beat her, I thought was
Yeah,
pretty
I
cool
I
though.
thought it was cool. It was fun to watch, but I don't think it was anything new or original.
Yeah, I wanted the show to continue giving me new and fun stuff, and that was boring
I thought it was kind of cool the
to
way
me
she
at
beat
least.
her though, because she beat her in a
Yeah,
witty way, and I thought that kind of like brought things full circle because she goes into that cave and she's schooled because she doesn't have even basic magical notions. According to Agatha, she doesn't know the whole rune thing, and now she beats her using that almost rudimentary trick. But she did it in a very
Yeah, it's
witty
just
way.
using the hex as a giant rune.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I
I
thought that
think I could have done without the whole fight leading up to that. Basically, like I felt like that would have been a great way to just be like a basic reveal at the end. It just felt filler to me, the whole back and forth fight that they had. But that's a stylistic thing. Marvel makes a lot of money off of finishing their movies in such a way.
that's their formula. Yeah,
That's
they want to give you
It's
the
the grand
CGI
finale.
fest.
right. Again, I think just like when you consider the show leading up to that point, like how it was really giving us something new and interesting every episode, and really, it also kind of jarred to me. I was like, I
I
don't
think
know.
it also does a good job of breaking the tradition of all of the other Marvel series. So I have this opinion that Marvel series all kind of suck,
Mhm.
like except for the Netflix Defenders series. So Punisher, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, those are all great, but also fuck Iron Fist. The Iron Fist one was really really bad,
Yeah,
but if you look at like
That one was a
Agents
guilty
of
pleasure
Shield,
of mine, to be honest with you. The Iron Fist. Yeah,
really,
it's bad, but I thought it was fun to watch.
oh, it was so generic. It was just
I
like
would
watching
definitely say
Batman
I
or
would
Green
definitely agree
Arrow.
that it's
It's
bad,
like
but
the literal same storyline.
yeah, I mean, kind of. I mean, more than that, it's just bad. I'm okay with the
Yeah,
same storyline. It's a good it's superhero storyline, but yeah, it's kind of shitty. But I thought the second season actually not so like the second season wasn't even guilty pleasure. It was just not good. But the first one was kind of fun, to watch. But most people probably didn't think that. I don't know. The reviews are pretty bad. It was like
yeah.
one of those soap operas almost.
But I guess my point is that I think this represents a good divergence from traditional Marvel TV series that are designed to be in a binge watching format. Um, I think all of those series are written to be an IV drip of suspense and like new information that keep you, ready to queue up the next episode. Whereas I think WandaVision does a much better job of being episodic and keeping you in tune week over week, and giving you a full grand finale of an ending. But in doing so, I think it has significantly higher stakes. So I think that serves to make the suspenseful moments more suspenseful. And I really appreciate that over, the formula we've had thus far.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely nice to have a little bit of closure. It felt more like a movie, than those TV shows that were so, always in a cliffhanger. But it's also, I think it's so that's definitely not, it's also different budget, different. This felt more like a movie, like a big movie that split into several different episodes.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, the movie, the budget in one of these episodes is probably like the budget of the whole season of Agents of Shield. 20 episodes. I mean, the budget is just
Depending on the episode, I would say, yeah.
different creature.
I will say that one series point I want to make kind of goes back to Quicksilver, Pietro.
Oh yeah.
And I am
On that a little bit.
I'm not here for this troll.
Yeah, I felt a little bit ripped off too. That like they just cast him as like a little nod to the fans. I was fully expecting that Pietro would be brought back, and
Yeah.
they would kind of retcon X-Men Pietro back into the role, because I think the actor does a fantastic job of playing it, and
And
I don't know, it felt like they just went so out of their way to do that.
Yeah.
and to me,
Like,
it's
they
like,
did all of that just to set up for a boner joke at the end, I feel.
yeah, that's really it. It was a penis joke there at the end, and really, it's a fake out. Really, what it turns out to. I mean, you could have easily just casted Aaron Taylor Johnson, bring him back. And instead, this is basically like purely a fake out to drive internet traffic, to drive the people every week, getting excited about the idea of Evan Peters. I mean, it was a stunt casting for a fake out, and I feel trolled by it.
Yeah, I do too. I totally agree with you on that.
People say, well, that's subverting the expectations. I'm just like, you could have subverted expectations with Aaron Taylor Johnson too. This is like, it's deliberately playing on the idea of how excited fans will be to this, to end with a penis joke.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was a pretty cool thing to do to bring him back, and we talked about it quite a bit. I thought that was all fun until the end. I mean, the end is just shit.
Well, that's what I mean, is that like,
Yeah.
it's fun, and then you're
Well,
trolled.
I don't know why they did that. I mean, that's kind of a stupid way to go about it.
I think it's what I said. It was, they purely knew that they could generate a ton of like chatter.
No, but what I mean is, why not keep him? I mean, he was obviously a fan favorite. I mean, people really liked, they liked Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, rightfully so. I mean, he was very good. And then people liked him in WandaVision. People were talking about this guy in WandaVision being back. I mean, obviously he's a fan favorite. So why not keep? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They might still keep.
My guess
They
is
might
that
still
they haven't
change their mind again.
Well, even if they do, it doesn't salvage this, what they did in this.
But I would still be okay.
My guess is that they just didn't
way.
want to do it here. They didn't want. They wanted their big X-Men return thing to be a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
Whenever they do it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So,
but I mean, who cares, man? It's just Quicksilver. He's making stupid jokes and he's a fan favorite. I mean, the way they did it now makes even less sense. If you know.
Yeah. Again, this is why I'm like, they should have just done Aaron Taylor Johnson, and rather than. Now, here's the thing. It might have worked better for them if they used Evan Peters and all the episodes dropped at once. But the point of having the weekly thing to drive up anticipation, you had people for like after the stinger where he was revealed, like that just blew up Twitter.
Totally.
People, and so they knew what they were doing with it. They knew that this would happen. It would drive people excited. And to leave it at what it ended up was, I feel like it's a fake out. And I know there's people online who say that that there's signs that that there's still more to that.
I think they'll bring him back, man.
I feel like that.
I think they'll bring him back because they always keep bringing these people back. I mean, if he's not back, you have no Quicksilver. If you have no Quicksilver, people will revolt. So at some point they'll just, oh no, that wasn't true, and then they'll bring him back. Maybe they'll do that after the X-Men are back. I don't know, but I feel
if they do that, I'm still gonna be annoyed because I feel for the purpose of this show, it was a unearned excitement driving stunt casting.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one, Dan. I feel like they had plenty of opportunity to open up and just open up the X-Men universe into this. And that's what I was really, really hoping for. Like, they've done the Fox buyout. Disney owns Fox for the most part. Like it certainly could have happened, and in a lot of ways, this just kind of tells me that it won't happen.
Yeah, I think it could still, but my worry is that what this means is that Marvel and Disney are gonna want to do their own X-Men actors um, when they eventually get to it. There's a lot of
Mhm.
money tied to the other actors to be who they are in those roles, and
Yeah,
it
I mean, you've
just
got Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen as Magneto and Professor X. Like, it's tough to like. Those are some big billable hours.
well, even Evan Peters, like he's
Yeah.
huge. Like
Well, I mean, those are not even the top earners. I mean, they have Jennifer Lawrence, who's the highest paid female actress in the world, and then they have Michael Fassbender, who's one of the highest paid male actors in the world. Um,
James McAvoy.
James
Like,
McAvoy, which might make even more money than Fassbender. I don't know, or maybe a little bit less,
but that's the point is that like
around the same range. But they're like, yeah, they're like pretty
so I think
expensive
X-Men
actors.
is coming. At this point, I feel like this also means that I feel like the way this
Even the
went was like
Beast.
this.
What's the name of the Beast guy? He's a big star now. I mean, he must make a lot.
Oh, that's the kid from Skins.
Yeah, Hout. Is it Nicholas Hout?
Yeah,
Maybe?
Brandon Holt. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Brandon Holt.
So he yeah, that guy must make quite a bit of money now. So those are pretty expensive actors. So I think I think that's a problem for those movies.
So I think we're gonna get X-Men. We're just gonna get new X-Men, like new
For
actors.
sure, yeah, recast. And it makes sense.
They did that with Spider-Man. They got their own Spider-Man.
Also, some of those guys don't really want to be in anymore. I don't think
Yeah, I think like
what's
Hugh
the-
Jackman is
Hugh
just kind of
Jackman,
done
yeah.
with being the Wolverine.
Yeah,
I
he
think
doesn't
Hugh
want to do it.
Jackman's done. I think Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart love their characters.
Yeah, Hugh
because
Jackman said several times he doesn't want to do it though. So, and he's the main face of the old cast.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
like,
he would certainly have to come back if they were going to do anything X-Men related, and I could very much understand him not wanting to come back just based on how much of a physical toll it takes on him to get in
He's not,
shape for the role.
he's not even that young anymore. That's the thing as well. You know, like
No, he's a pretty old guy.
for him to get
Um,
into that shape might not even be possible anymore. Because he was like in
Yeah.
insane shape, man.
But-
for those movies, he was looking.
I think
he was
this
looking like The Rock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's 52 years old now.
Yeah, he probably
And,
can't, he probably can't even look like that anymore. And yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, he's a tremendous actor. I mean, Hugh Jackman is really, really good, and he's had like some really good parts. I mean, I'm sure he has enough money. You know, like it doesn't really make sense for him to make 20 more
Yeah.
Wolverine movies and spend his career doing that. Makes zero sense.
right. So I think like just the ultimate point being that like the casting of Evan Peters made us want X-Men stuff, but they weren't going to give it to us, and so I would have just preferred they had Aaron Taylor Johnson show up as Pietro.
Also, I think it's kind of fun if they cast new characters because the X-Men has so many characters that they can just go wild and cast all these like cool, exciting new actors. I mean, there's no other ensemble movie quite like that you can do like that I can think of. I mean, you can
And I
cast
think
a
they'll
bunch
get
of
to it.
cool actors.
It's just again, it's like in the context of the show, it's disappointing to be faked out that way in the way they did it.
I think Evan Peters could definitely have been the exception though. So I think that was a pretty stupid move.
Yeah. I think that's like the end of my like stuff that detracts for me.
Yeah. We could talk about some like general considerations about the show and the MCU. I think we covered the finale enough. So overall, I mean, what do we think about this show? Was it good enough? Was it as good as we thought?
I think prior to the last episode, I would have put this at like a 8 or a 9. Yeah, I feel the finale bumped it down to a 7 for me or so.
Man, you really
Yeah, I'd
didn't
give it a
like the
7.5.
Well, I mean, I also want to think of like cohesion of the show, and the show had a real interesting style for a while that got dropped for the last little bit, and structurally, I wanted to tie it in a little bit better. You can be in this sort of in the real world stuff and still have like TV trope stuff lining up. The penultimate episode could have really been framed as a clip show, and the finale could have been framed like it could have. I would almost have liked Wanda's final confrontation with Agnes or Agatha be framed in the way of like a soap opera villain, like in a way, like how they deal with it, and have like some sort of homage, or just like throw out a bunch of TV homages. And that way you would have tied into the central stuff for Wanda there a little bit better. And it might have been hokey, but I would have loved that. Like, it just
Yeah, I
felt
think
very generic to end a show that way that was so unique and gave such a unique viewing experience up until that point.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the show starts out really strong with having such a unique take.
Mm-hmm.
And it in a lot of ways it plays as a gimmick, but I think it's a gimmick that keeps you so fascinated with the series, and that's what allows you to build a dozen theories within the first 2 or 3 episodes. And that's what's like a lot of the fun is. And by the final 2 episodes, you really don't have that anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and like,
I think it would have
probably to me. Go ahead.
No, I mean, just to Ian's point, I think maybe it would have, because I totally agree with him. I think maybe if they had done like a 6-episode show or something like that, and I think, yeah, it would be a little bit better. Every episode, a different sitcom, a different decade, and then you work the story into that format. I think that would have been more fun, because these last few episodes, even though they kind of gave us some clarity and they finished up the story, yeah, I mean, it's true that they didn't have the same magic. So yeah, they felt a lot more generic.
Yeah. And so that's where, I still think this is a strong start to the TV MCU. We'll see, like, if the other stuff, it makes me really look forward to next year's stuff, actually, more than because I'm more interested in She-Hulk and all of that.
What else is there this year? The Falcon is going to come out pretty soon, right?
And I think Loki toward the end of the year.
Oh, Loki, yeah, that one could be interesting. WandaVision was the one I was the most interested in, actually, but yeah, I mean, maybe they'll be fun. I don't know. The Falcon one doesn't really seem interesting to me for some reason. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about that one?
I'm excited to see what happens with it, because I think WandaVision really serves as like the first time I've been willing to sit from start to finish through a Marvel series, post the Netflix content. But like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then there was
Agents of
one
S.H.I.E.L.D.
other
is
one
so
that I
bad,
can't.
man. Just so bad though. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Right.
isn't it?
But like it technically ties in with the MCU. So I would say that WandaVision has now made me open and receptive to MCU series.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But I have a hard time believing that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be as refreshing. I mean, unless they go with like I'm trying to think of like some fun shticks they could do with it. But if they do like a Hawaii 5-0 buddy cop style, like that'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of
But I also don't know enough about the Winter Soldier or the Falcon as characters to really anticipate
me
much
neither.
from it.
But
So
I only
I'll definitely
know...
check it out, but I guess I won't be afraid to drop the series if it's if it just feels like filler.
Yeah, I mean, they're both characters seem very uninteresting to me. They don't really look interesting at all. Captain America is not my favorite character to start with, but now you're getting into like D character
Well,
episode,
I
like territory. Falcon and Winter Soldier, which are
I
like,
would argue Falcon and Winter Soldier are more interesting than Steve Rogers, and that's why I'm kind of still curious about this. Steve Rogers has sort of a like has a great characterization, but the history of Falcon and Winter Soldier has a lot more. Um, there's a lot more that they can mine with that, and I'm very interested in seeing what they do with it. I'm not as excited for the show as others. Um, my main excitement is for how they're actually gonna do their side characters and villains and such. Uh, um, I think it's mostly I'm gonna watch it because I'm very curious to see how they pull off some things. But WandaVision, I was a lot more excited for because I love Tom King's Vision series.
oh yeah, I mean it
I
was a lot more interesting as a concept. The fun thing about it is that we didn't even really know what we're gonna get. Like we're for most of our episodes, podcast episodes, we're just trying to figure out what was going on, and
Yeah, I only
that's what
once predicted
made it
something
interesting.
correctly.
What?
I said I only once predicted something correctly.
No, you did pretty well, Dan. You did pretty well.
Yeah,
So
I guess I just have this massive concern that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be very different. It's going to have very big shoes to fill, and I think it's just going to be a very different cup of tea altogether.
yeah, I um I'll, I would say if we're gonna do something for it, we should maybe do a season wrap on it, not do it in every
Yeah.
episode because I don't think it'll be as intriguing episode to episode.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think we're gonna have something like that until She-Hulk. She-Hulk, just because that's just She-Hulk.
Yeah, that one. I mean, Loki sounds fun.
We can definitely watch Space Jam and stuff in the meantime.
Well, I mean, this week there's a big release actually, the Zack Snyder's Justice League, which apparently all the reviewers are saying is actually pretty amazing, which is certainly an underdog story. Like I
Actually,
would
the
never
people I
have.
read, they mostly say that like most of the reviews I saw were that like it makes more sense than the original theatrical cut. It's not necessarily good. It's
No,
just
they're
like
saying it's good.
not as much of a mess.
Most of them are saying it's good actually.
I would say
That's
that it
surprising.
looked like the aggregate was mostly mixed, which is what I expected. Yeah, some people liked it, but like people that I usually follow for movies were like, okay, it makes more sense. Clearly, Joss Whedon messed it up, but it's also not necessarily a good movie.
Okay, well, I mean that's not the
At least
ones
that's
that
what
I
I was
read
reading.
were certainly more positive than that. But we should definitely see it for ourselves and see if we like it or not. But I thought it was just going to be
I
a
mean,
turd.
it's 4 hours long.
You don't think you can do that?
I just can't believe
4
it's
hours?
a 4 hour movie. Like,
Okay. I'm for sure gonna watch
I
it. I'm
mean,
for sure.
maybe
A
I will-
4 hour movie is insane. For the Justice League movie, that's a lot.
Well, you
I
do
mean,
it.
wasn't the event? I mean, even Endgame was that like what?
Endgame
3
is
hours?
3 hours,
Well, you do it in
like
2
3
sessions.
hours and 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
I finished Infinity War last night,
Yeah.
so I've got to watch Endgame next, and I haven't actually watched it yet.
So are you watching?
Yeah, it's
Are you
4
watching?
hours for a movie for which we have no real investment.
Are you watching all the movies, Ian?
What's that?
Are you watching all the MCU?
Yeah, Emily and I have been watching through all of them.
Like from
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you see, at least with Endgame and Infinity War, you have all that built-in investment with the other movies. Like you're invested in. Like Justice League, it's a 4 hour movie for which I have no investment of the characters.
Yeah, I would say Endgame has a right to be 3 hours long, just because it has such a reputation behind it. I mean, these are movies that have been running since 2008. So it was 12 years in the making for some of these fans that have been following it from the beginning. So I could definitely see people having enough investment that if they want to see it through to the end. And I feel like 3 hours is plenty fair for a movie of that proportion. 4 hours for the Justice League is it's very pretentious, I'll say.
Yeah.
I think
I
you guys
kind
are
of
under.
wish. I mean, originally, I think the Justice League movie was supposed to be 2 movies, like way back when it was first announced, and then it just became 1 movie, or they somehow mashed it all together with Joss Whedon. It's a mess of they spent a lot of money to reshoot this movie now too. So
I think it was about 60
This is
million
like one of
dollars.
those movies that becomes such a monumental project that it doesn't even turn out to be good. Like I often compare it to Avatar.
yeah,
Like everyone talks about how great the movie is, but it's not actually a good movie. Like, can you give me one quote like from the movie at all? One line, anything.
Well,
all
that's
I just remember is unobtainium.
Yep, that's all I remember. It's just Pocahontas in space.
Fern Gully in space too. Much better
Or
movie
Fern
as
Gully,
well.
take your pick.
Yeah, Dances with the Wolves.
well. I mean,
it's just like it's a rehash, and it's a beautiful turd.
Yeah. So Bruno, it may even be good, but like I think and I'll watch it at some point. But man, I'm not looking forward to sitting down for a 4-hour movie for which I have no investment in.
Dude, I think 4 hours is going to deter a lot of people, especially in a cinematic release.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be HBO Max, so
They're not going to do any sort of cinematic release at all.
they're gonna do a simultaneous cinematic release. But
Yeah, I think it's going to do poorly in cinema because sitting in a movie theater for 4 hours where you can't pause sucks.
yeah, let me say this, Bruno. Maybe we don't get to the movie right away because I might have to watch it in chunks.
well, when I watch it, and I'll certainly watch it this weekend. I'm gonna watch it probably in 2 sessions because 4 hours is too long for just one movie.
Yeah.
Frankly, I'll fall asleep because it's not because the movie's bad. I don't know if the movie's bad or not, but I, like a movie these days,
Well, you have a baby. You're taking care of a baby too. So.
Yeah, with the baby and everything. Even before the baby, I 4 hours I usually fall asleep. So
yeah, the only movies I will sit down and watch that long are the extended cuts of Lord of the Rings.
I'll probably fall asleep as well. To be honest with you, not when I was a teenager, but now, if it's 4 hours, but that doesn't mean I don't like them. I like Lord of the Rings. Obviously, is amazing. So Justice League, I think I can handle 2 sessions for sure. I mean, if you think about it, it's like a TV show. You do a TV show of 2 episodes. 2 episodes, 2 hours each. And or even you divide it into 4 sessions, and you do 1 hour each. So
I kind of wish they had done it as a miniseries.
I think they will. I think that's the plan actually. I think they have the movie version, and I think they have the mini series, which is the same, just cut into 4 parts. I think they're actually going to release that option. I think that at least I read that a while ago. I don't know if
I think that it was one of the options they were going to do, and they opted to just release it at the movie.
Well, maybe they won't then. I don't know.
I think it would have taken more reshoots because they would have had to figure out cut points and how to end each episode. And they would have required extra shoots for that.
Yeah, maybe. But then again, look at I haven't actually seen it yet because I kind of forgot about it because I really wanted to watch it. But the Netflix version of what's it called? The Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight. They did a version that it's a mini series. So because it's so long, the extended version, it's 4 episodes. So you could do something very similar for the Justice League. I don't know if they will, but I think you guys maybe. But I'll do it in 2 sessions, man. I'm actually excited. I wasn't so excited about it, but now that I can the reviews are actually decent. I kind of am. I wanna check it out. It's probably not gonna be the best movie ever, but it sounds like it's gonna be fun. At least decently fun. So I'll watch it. We'll figure it out. Maybe if you guys are not super interested, I mean, it doesn't really make sense to do it. But I'll watch
I mean, it is very. We are in peak movie season now, so Like we're starting to get a lot of good movies.
There's not anything. There's nothing out there though, is it? Like what else
Well,
is there?
stuff's been releasing. You know, I mean, last weekend Lauren and I watched Nomadland. Before that, we did Judas and the Black Messiah, and they've been great. We're going to try to do The Sound of Metal soon.
So more like indie movies. Nomadland, I think, won the Golden Globe for best movie. So that's actually from last year, isn't it? Nomadland, because it won the
Maybe
Golden Globe.
it was on Hulu. So
Yeah. But and I think there's a lot of interest in this movie. I don't know why exactly, but I just think this that's the only thing that pops up on my internet feed right now is the Snyder's cut of the Justice League. So I think there's a lot of people that are interested, a lot of nerds, but a lot of people. We'll see if it pays off for HBO Max. But I think Wonder Woman was a big hit on HBO Max, the 1984.
yeah,
Because they weren't doing so well until Wonder Woman came out, and that really drove the subscriptions. I mean, it's the only streaming service that really gives you like Prime movies, without an extra charge. Disney Plus did that just for Soul, but they usually charge extra. And there aren't really that many movies being released out there, so people are more eager to watch whatever they can. But yeah, I mean, I think that Wandavision was fun. It was fun. It was a little bit even more fun than I expected it because I didn't know what to expect. So I thought overall it was fun. Yeah, I mean, it has some problems, but overall, I mean, I thought it landed it landed well. You know, it wasn't bad.
yeah. I mean, I have
It
no
was a lot. It
problem
was a
with
lot of
it.
fun.
I think a 7. Like I said, a 7 for me. I'm Ian. You have that as a 7.5. I think these are
I'll give it an 8.
solid shows.
I'll give it an 8. So 7.5 is our average. It's
Okay.
pretty respectable average. And actually, I liked it more than I think any MCU movie that I can think of right now of the last several years. So I enjoyed it. The Guardians of the Galaxy, I like that better. I don't know when it came out. It was like 3 years ago, maybe. Volume 2. Um,
But yeah, no, we'll have to see what we watch next now. We've been on WandaVision for quite a while.
so I think
Yeah, we got some big shoes to fill at this point.
there's lots of great
Maybe
movies.
maybe we got to get Bruno to watch some anime movies.
Yeah, we'll make you watch an anime movie, Bruno.
Eh.
We can watch. We can do
We do a deep
rotation.
dive on Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Ooh. Oh, maybe that's a series of movies.
Yeah,
We can
I don't have them though. I keep trying to find a place to get them.
I'll dig them up for you.
All right.
we can do a rotation that each time someone else chooses the movie. That's cool because that way everyone gets to choose like a little gem that they like and be particularly interested for that. So I think that could be fun. Before we stop this,
Yeah, I think Bruno, given how much you like philosophy, you really like Evangelion.
I know I actually watched it. I don't know if the movies are any
Yeah, I think
different.
that's a very good point.
I think we're losing Bruno's connection.
Oh, let's the connection is a little bit unstable. So let's end the podcast. Do
yeah, I
you
think we're
guys have
definitely losing
any
you, Bruno.
final remarks for the podcast?
I think the scores settle it.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good. I think it does a good job of getting me hyped up for the next round of Marvel movies that I will absolutely be able to see in theater.
Yes. Can't wait
so
for that.
I think the series did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah,
That's my tweet.
it was fun. What else can you ask from this? So, well, thanks for watching our podcast, guys, and that's it. That's it for WandaVision. Watch our movie podcast next, starting probably this week or next week, and subscribe.